Technologies advisor today. 877-ASK-DEL. Key, quarterbacks remaining in the playoffs 1-8, or are you going 8-1?
I'm going 1-8, but I'm basing this off so that you know, before Jay start asking me, it's based on what I saw in Week 18 and what I saw in the first week of the playoffs, kind of a combination, because Jalen Hurts didn't play and neither did Patrick Mahomes. So This is kind of the way that I'm doing it. Kick it off, Yates.
Number 1.
Patrick Mahomes, number 1. He had a bye. Simple and plain. We don't have any arguments there. We can move on.
Yep.
Number 2.
Number 2 is Josh Allen, the Buffalo Bills. If you look at that match that they had against the Miami Dolphins, he completed some, although he had 2 interceptions, he completed some balls with laser throws. He had some incompletions that should have been completions with laser throws. This team is going to go as far as he takes them, and I believe they're going to go real far in the playoffs.
Key, real quick question. Do you bring any prior knowledge of the quarterbacks to this, or are you just basing it on week 18 and then the first week of the playoffs?
Week 18, first week of the playoffs.
So you're not bringing anything you know about these quarterbacks before that into it? Okay.
No, not at all.
Number 3.
Joe Burrow sits at number 3, Cincinnati Bengals. Another tough matchup against the Baltimore Ravens without Lamar Jackson, but Joe Burrow did his part. He spit out the ball to a number of different receivers. He got sacked 4 times because the offensive line is a makeshift offensive line right now, but he held his own. He held his ground, so he sits at number 3.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Dak Prescott. Based on what I saw at the end of the season and then into the playoffs, erase what I saw in Week 18 against the Washington Commanders. That playoff performance last night kicked him from the bottom all the way up to number 4. I mean, you cannot argue with the way that young man played last night. 4 touchdowns in the air, 1 on the ground, did not turn the football over at all. If he continues on this type of roll up in San Francisco, they'll be playing in the NFC Championship game.
Number 5.
Jalen Hurts at number 5. Now, Jalen Hurts came off some injuries, was banged up at the end of the year, but he put his foot in the ground, and he won the games that he was supposed to win. Look, at the end of the day, do I believe that the Philadelphia Eagles will be in the NFC Championship game playing against the San Francisco 49ers or the Dallas Cowboys? Yes, I do, and Jalen Hurts will be the quarterback in doing that.
Number 6.
Daniel Jones sits at number 6 for me. I watched him against the Minnesota Vikings, and look, you could argue he played probably the best game of his entire career. He was flawless, much like Dak Prescott in this situation. But Minnesota's defense is extremely bad. They're a bad defense, but that's okay. He did his job, and he did what he was supposed to do. He led his team to victory, so therefore he sits at number 6.
Number 7.
Number 7, Brock Purdy, or should I say Purdy, or however you say his name. But Brock, my man, if he continues to do the things that he's doing, he'll take his team to Arizona, and they'll be in the big toaster. The reason he's so far down on my list is not because of his play. It's because of the complementary players around him. He's got so many different weapons on the offensive side of the ball. And then when you look at the defensive side of the ball, that defense is lights out championship caliber defense. He doesn't have to do a whole lot. He just needs to manage the situation and not crash the bus.
Number 8.
In number 8, Trevor Lawrence of the Jacksonville Jaguars. If you look at Trevor Lawrence in his first appearance in a playoff game, played okay. I mean, they were down 27-0 to the Los Angeles Chargers. That offense came back and got them and even the score. So when you look at my rankings, Patrick Mahomes sits at 1, Josh Allen 2, Joe Burrow 3, Dak Prescott 4, Jalen Hurts 5, Daniel Jones 6, Brock Purdy or Purdy, depending on who wants to call it, 7, and Trevor Lawrence at 8. That's the list.
Jay, it's not easy because except for Purdy, and even with Purdy, because Purdy just looks good playing, like these are all very good players, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not easy to put together the list, but I have several issues. Do you?
I do. I can't have Joe Burrow 3. I have to have him 2.
Ahead of Josh Allen.
Yes.
Based on the interceptions Josh Allen threw early.
Yes.
But Joe Burrow barely got by a Ravens team.
I hear, but Joe Burrow's been hot. I mean, what, an 8-game win streak? And how they played? Who they played?
This is my problem with the list, Key. Dak was very good. Dak is on a much more talented offensive team than Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, though it wasn't Week 18 because they rested him, in Week 17 played the best game of his career until the first game of the playoffs, where I just think he was better than Dak anyway. Like, he was working with so much less and basically did the same thing Dak did, but with much much less than Dak. So I would have Daniel Jones higher. And by the way, I've never been pumping up Daniel Jones.
Higher though where? Like, who would you have?
Well, if it's just based on the last 2 games they've played, right, then I'd have to move him up ahead of Dak. He had a more impressive game, a much more impressive, well, not much more because Dak was very, very good, but a more impressive game. He was working with less and did the same thing. And then Trevor Lawrence, I know why you have him.
Let me ask you this question. This is mind-boggling to me, and I think I brought this up yesterday. How is he working with less?
Daniel Jones?
Daniel Jones?
God, yeah, how's he working with less? Dude? He was 35. What was he? 35 of 20-something, 24? I mean, 24, 35?
35.
Yeah, 20. I know I screw it up all the time. He was 24, 35 or something like that. I don't have his stat line in front of me.
I'll get it.
But he was 24, 35. How is that working with less?
24, 35, 2 touchdowns.
You're talking about
how
his
is that
success.
Working with less?
Wait, Key.
They caught the
think about
football.
what you're doing.
Rushed for 78 yards.
You're now saying that because he had a really good game, that proves he wasn't working with less. That logic falls apart because now you can't say you use the same logic to say Brock Purdy has got so much around him, right? That's why he's doing well.
I'm talking about the way that Kyle Shanahan operates that offense with all the pieces on the offensive side, plus Brock Purdy's defense. All they're asking Brock Purdy to do is don't crash the bus. They're not asking Daniel Jones don't crash the bus.
Yeah, no.
They're asking Daniel Jones
to
play football.
What I'm saying is you can't use the completions to prove he has good receivers. In fact, Slayton dropped
so
the pass
tired
he's doing all year
but
that would
I'm
have ended the game.
So tired of people saying that he's not working with anything.
Well,
he's working with professional receivers.
Okay, but not compared to the other guys. Come on.
For 1 second, because I know the Giants are a hot topic with Daniel Jones, and he has been playing exceptionally well, especially in the last month and a half of the season.
He's a good player.
And even though Key coming off injury, how he's done the last couple of games, like I can't have Dak ranked ahead of Jalen Hurts. I mean, Jalen Hurts was in the
But I've always felt that Dak Prescott was the best pure quarterback in the division.
Yeah, but Jalen Hurts was in the MVP conversation.
I understand he was in the MVP conversation. Okay, so here's what I would say. If Dak Prescott had played a full season, I believe he would have been in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, but he didn't.
I understand.
He didn't play a full season.
I
You know what I mean? So
I understand.
I think the sustained excellence of Jalen Hurts, I couldn't have Dak ranked.
And also,
because Dak had a good game last night, but the game before that,
he had
was
a
not.
damn good game last night.
He did. It was damn good. By the way, Trevor Lawrence, Key, he played poorly early, but to me, when a young quarterback in his first playoff appearance is down that much, and a lot of it's his poor play, and then they come all the way back, and he nice and steady calls his own number, hits the touch, throws the touchdown pass, beautiful pass. You know, like at a certain point,
who you putting him in front of, though?
That's a good question.
Who you putting him in front of?
All good.
I mean,
it's a good question.
Like, who are you putting Trevor Lawrence in front of when they losing 27-0?
Matt in Florida.
And it took a miracle to come back.
Matt in Florida. Who do you put Trevor Lawrence in front of?
Most definitely will put him. I most definitely would put him in front of Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow went scoreless that last half, and he barely got away with the win there. If it wasn't for Huntley in that fumble, that's the Baltimore Ravens. He's not even on this list.
Maybe.
Trevor
I don't know.
Lawrence
There was 11 minutes left in the game.
There
was 11 and a half minutes left in the game.
I mean, that's where I get a little bit confused. Are we doing this based upon, like, their last game or two, or are we doing it like their body of work coming into the games?
Here, I'll say it one more time for you, Jay.
Man, I'm not gonna lie.
Let me say it one more time.
One more for the people in the back. That's me.
Based on Week 18.
Just Week 18.
For the guys in the buys, we didn't see Mahomes play.
Yep.
We didn't see Jalen Hurts play.
Yep.
So the last time we saw them was in Week 18.
Okay.
I can't all of a sudden ignore the guys that played in the playoffs over the past weekend.
Okay.
I can't ignore them.
So, all right, if we're doing Week 18 and the bye and the first weekend of the playoffs, then I'm
because
Trevor Lawrence has to be high. He has to be higher.
Well, he didn't have a very good Week 18.
He didn't have a very good Week 18 or his playoff game.
No, I think, Key, that's where I disagree. He showed more important stuff to me in that playoff game than just like a guy who didn't throw those picks early. Like, when you come all the way back like that, you showed me something.
Man, he was losing 27-0. Brandon Staley.